you so much, guys. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, guys. Absolutely amazing. Thank you. You guys are the best. Thank you so much.
Hello, America. It's Wednesday again. It's 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That means it's time for History, Mystery, and Sweet Tea. And hello to Gwen, our producer.
Hey.
Gwen Johns, how are you? You rock. You do a
Good.
great job with these shows, and I couldn't
Thank
do it
you.
without you. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And y'all, she does it as a hobby. What can I say?
Yeah.
We are in historic Newberry, South Carolina. We're downtown outside of Figaro's at a nice little courtyard area, and you can hear the birds singing, you can hear the tree frogs and a few cicadas here and there, but we are going to talk history first. And I would like to introduce you to not only the local historian, a former curator of the museum, but also my friend. And he's helped me a lot with the research and the book that I'm going to write on Newberry and the ghost stories of Newberry. So his name is Mr. Ernest Sheely, but if I had it my way, he would be Sir Ernie Sheely. But welcome to the show, Ernie.
Hello.
Hey, Ernie.
Hello.
Can you see him good, Gwen?
I can.
Okay. Well, we're going to start. I've got some questions. I just sent him a bunch of questions earlier, and just some things, some questions that people had submitted and that I was also curious about. And he's going to answer them for me. So, Ernie, the first question is, when was Newberry established, founded, incorporated, and who founded Newberry? Who established Newberry?
Okay, so back at the time of the American Revolution, we were part of the 96th District, which was essentially all of the upper part of South Carolina between the Broad River and the Savannah River that was west of about present-day Columbia. And in 1785, when the state was redefining the judicial districts, they decided that 96 was too big and it needed to be divided into smaller districts or counties. And so 6 counties were established, and Newberry was one of them. So 1785 is the first time that that name Newberry appears on any record. There were no communities in the area. We were simply a tract of farmland running along the ridge between the Broad and the Saluda rivers. And it's become something of a 200-year-old mystery as to where the name came from. My theory, and the currently accepted theory, is that we owe our name to the Quakers. The Quakers came from Pennsylvania, and there was a Newberry Township in Pennsylvania. They had been established in a suburb of London by the name of Newberry, and it just seems that wherever the Quakers settled, suddenly there was a Newberry. We had a large group of Quakers coming here before the American Revolution, and even more in the decade or two following it. So the name Newberry must have been batted around. There's still a Newberry, Pennsylvania.
Oh, that is phenomenal. That's great news.
And when the Quakers left, they took the name with them. And they went to Ohio, and there's a Newberry Township there.
Oh,
interesting.
And went to Indiana, and there's a Newberry there.
I wonder if they say y'all.
I doubt it.
Well, and with your knowledge, what is the most historical building and or the oldest building here in Newberry?
Well, the oldest building is a structure out in the county called the Rock House. It was built back in the 1760s. It's largely inaccessible these days and only visible at certain times of the year. But I would say that hands down, the most historic building in the county is the courthouse, because it was the reason that downtown Newberry is where it is. and uh, it was the center of activity until years later the Opera House was established.
So that's the building behind you, the
Yes.
creamish, yellowish color building. Yeah.
It was originally exposed brick, but over time the brick
Is this
crumbled.
the one, Margie?
Sure.
Is this the one?
No, that's
No.
the
No,
library.
that's the library.
It's
As you
yellow
see, I
building
don't know
with
all
the
of them.
columns. It's okay. It's okay. You can put any pictures up you want to. Ernie knows about all of them.
Right.
So, and
Might
what
be.
is Newberry best known for?
Well, Newberry has always been known for agriculture. It was once described as the largest tract of unbroken farmland in the state. Unlike other counties where the rivers ran through the county, the rivers were boundaries for us. And so we're essentially two river valleys connected. Yeah, that's the old courthouse.
Yeah, and that's the old
Yeah.
courthouse. Yes, that is the oldest
That is
building
it?
here. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And he's telling us, Newberry is known for agriculture. They even have a water
Yes.
tower that's an egg
Yes.
in the shape of an egg. So
At the
poultry's
time,
big.
we were the egg and dairy capital of South Carolina.
That is awesome. So, you are the former curator at the museum.
Yes.
And how long did you work there?
Well, it's a surprisingly tough question to answer because the museum's been in several incorporations over the years. The current museum is sort of the child of the Newberry County Museum Association, which I helped establish back in 1995. But the present museum is the result of sort of a reincorporation in the 2010s. So the present museum opened about 2019.
Yeah, and they have, do they rotate
Yes. There
exhibits?
there are permanent exhibits, near permanent exhibits, and a large area in the center in which the exhibit rotates.
So what got you interested in history?
Well, I think I've always been interested in history. You can't live in South Carolina and not be interested in history in some way.
Right.
Genealogy is a way of life. When you live in the same neighborhood for 200 years, you can't help being related with all the families in the area.
Just make sure you don't marry your first cousin.
Yes. So,
That's a Southern joke. No offense intended to anybody.
The interest is self-preservation.
Yes. Oh, there you go.
When I came back to Newberry after a stint in Charleston, I was director of the Visitor Center, and people were always asking about their ancestors that lived in Newberry before they moved west somewhere.
Right.
We often say that Newberry is the center of the universe, and everybody has passed through it at some point.
That's neat.
And so I just took it on myself that I needed to be able to answer any of those questions that came into the Visitor Center.
Yeah.
And in the span of a
That's
couple of
great.
years, I became the local authority on local history.
I love it. And with Newberry being so close to the interstate and being the gateway to a lot of other towns, like an example, it goes Newberry, Chapel, then 96, and then Lawrence is in another direction. Whitmire's in a direction. Lawrence.
Newberry is the only county in South Carolina that's bordered by 7 other counties.
There you go. Makes
Center of
sense
the
to me.
universe.
Yeah, center of the universe, the universe of South Carolina.
Yes.
So, one of the most beautiful and attractive and the most notable, I guess, or the one you notice first when you come to downtown Newberry is the old hotel. It's like a yellowish cream color with a red roof. Can you tell us about that building and what the
Sure.
colors stand for? And
Well, there's been a hotel there since at least the 1830s, but that 1830s hotel burned in a fire in the 1870s and was
That it?
replaced by that building. Yes, that one.
that one's it.
That one.
So
Okay.
it's the old hotel now, but in the 1870s, it was the new hotel.
Right.
It's built in the Romanesque revival style that was very popular in the years following the Civil War. So the 1870s, 80s, and early 90s, you see that style of building.
Well, now since you know so much about that building, and I know you are an expert in history, and I know that Alice is going to talk about mystery, but would you share with us the ghost story that's affiliated with that old hotel?
Well, I'll certainly give some version of it.
Okay.
It depends on what that version is today. Uh, the story goes that a young woman arrived in town, an attractive young woman, and that she turned heads as she made her way up Main Street from the railroad depot to the old hotel, which was the new hotel then. And she took the room in the corner, the tower room. And it was very clear to everybody who saw her that day that she was waiting for someone. And she was seen in front of the window pacing back and forth. Well, the mystery that surrounds her is that apparently she was quite pregnant at the time and was awaiting the father to meet her in Newberry, a central location. And the father never arrived. She was found the next morning having died of childbirth, and her identity and her history remains a mystery.
That is awesome. And she's still seen today.
She is. Of course, the hotel has been renovated since the story came around. And back in the 50s and 60s, if you saw someone moving around in the hotel, you knew that it had to be the ghost. But now people live up there. So it could be them, it could be her.
Right. Oh, that's still a mystery, right? Now we did talk about the courthouse. Gwen, you put the picture up a moment ago, and you also know a ghost story about that.
Yes. I spent a lot of time there.
Well, the ladies' lounge.
Yes.
Can you tell people about that? Because that's so interesting.
So around the turn of the 20th century, 1907, we got a new courthouse. So we were left with the old courthouse and nothing to use it for. And a lady in the community said that it was a shame that ladies in town didn't have a place where they could gather when they came into Newberry to conduct business, especially on Saturdays. That was a big business day in Newberry. And there was a great need at the time also for indoor restrooms. She convinced the county for her to use a few rooms in the old courthouse and to have them plumbed so that there was running water and indoor plumbing. And she created a public parlor where the ladies could gather, have lunch, gossip, whatever.
Gossip. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's a tradition that continued all the way through the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Wow.
At one point, the public lounge in Newberry was the oldest operating ladies' lounge in America.
Wow. Now, if before I talked to you and learned that, if you would have said a ladies' lounge, I would have thought something else.
Yes.
But
As
now
far
that
as
you have clarified and educated me, I think that is fascinating.
it was really more of a public parlor.
Yeah, I love that. The ladies' parlor. Would you like to retire to the parlor? I remember they used to say that. Now, in your opinion, because you've been in Newberry how long?
Well, I was born here,
Uh-huh.
and though I went away for about 15 years, I've been back since 1996, and I guess that's over a quarter of a century.
Yeah, that's great. Do you live in your old home place?
No,
No.
I bought my own old home place.
You established your own. There you go. There you go.
It was somebody else's home place, but it's mine now.
Now, as far as the museum, is there any paranormal activity in the museum that you know of that you've experienced?
I've experienced a lot. Everybody hears noises from time to time, especially if somebody walking around when there's not really supposed to be anybody up there walking around. Even the security cameras that are motion activated will pop into a scene from time to time.
Oh, wow.
I'm the only person that I'm aware of that has actually seen the spirit walking by.
So they're comfortable around you.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think it was an old postmaster.
Oh.
Before it was a museum, it was the library. And before it was the library, it was the post office.
Well, I love that they save old buildings and recycle them and reuse them and reestablish new businesses in them. I think that's great.
The man I saw was wearing a gray uniform, and for most of its history, the post office has had gray uniforms.
Well, there are ties to every war, Revolutionary War, Civil War, all that. So I think that is phenomenal. In your opinion, and this is just your opinion, you don't have to base it on any fact or anything like that. What do you feel is the most haunted or inhabited building by spirits here in Newberry?
Oh gosh.
You just say yes, all of it?
Yes. I think the spirits are thick enough here that you can't stir them with a stick.
Yeah.
And
So
we've got sections of the county that are haunted.
Well,
haunting.
there is one thing I didn't put on the question list, but it's too far away for the walking tour that Alice does. I would love for you, and if you agree that it's okay, I want you to share the story of the cemetery, the old cemetery, and the Rosemont Cemetery, and what took place during the night when the new one was established.
Oh, yes.
And what's the
Is
name
this
of the old cemetery?
Old cemetery is the village cemetery. That's it in the view.
Yes.
That one? Okay.
It doesn't look overcrowded today, but when Rosemont was established in 1863, the village cemetery was full to capacity. There simply was no more burying space within the original 5 acres. There's still a lot of people buried there in unmarked graves because they were marking with wooden tombstones that simply do not last in our climate.
Right.
Even 10 years after people were buried there, people forgot where people were buried there because the monuments faded. But a lot of people would buy plots in the new cemetery and want the rest of their family to be buried there as well, even if they had already been interred in the village cemetery.
Mm.
Now, there's a legal procedure for moving a grave, and it involves courts, funeral directors, and very often clergy.
Better known as undertakers for
Yes.
the funeral directors.
And usually there's a lot of palm greasing in that process.
Yeah.
People in Newberry, if nothing else, have proven themselves frugal over time. And there is a way to avoid all the red tape of moving someone from the village cemetery to Rosemont. Simply do it at night when nobody's on duty.
Oh, wow.
So in the dead of the night, literally, they would
Pun
go,
intended. Pun intended.
people in town would go up to the end of Cook Street to the old village cemetery. Hope they were digging up the right grave.
Oh, wow.
Put the remains in their carriages and wagons and carry them down to Rosemont. Well, in order to get to Rosemont, you have to go down to Coat Street. Coat Street doesn't go past Main Street. You have to make this very sharp turn onto Main Street. The streets are kind of narrow downtown anyway. And then in the next block, you have to make another sharp right turn onto College Street. And then it's a straight shot after that. Well, if you're coming down the hill from the cemetery and you've got a bit of steam behind you or horsepower behind you, taking that turn can cause your wagon to slew. And usually it was not mentioned when someone liberated a family member from the village cemetery and relocated them to Rosemont. But if the contents of their wagon were to spill in the downtown, it often got mentioned in the paper that so-and-so was seen at midnight cleaning up a mess on Main Street.
Oh, my word.
And everybody knew what they were doing.
So in Southern slang, they would sling the relatives off the buggy.
Yes.
Basically. Oh, wow. And Rosemont, from the old cemetery to Rosemont from the village cemetery to Rosemont, it's less than a half mile, isn't it?
It's about a mile.
About a mile? Because it's beside the tennis courts, right?
Yes.
But at Newberry College. So yeah, I appreciate
the edge of the old city limits.
Yeah, my grandmother, grandfather, and one of my uncles are buried there. My maternal, because she was a Summer.
Okay.
And there were a lot of summers here, and
There were a lot
from
of summers
Germany.
buried at the village cemetery
know.
that are now buried in
know.
that spot as well.
I just think that is very, very interesting. Now, with you being so knowledgeable, are you an author of any books? Not yet, I hope.
I'm in the process.
There you go. Because I knew you hadn't published one, but I wanted to ask you. But it would
I have some
you have.
published papers,
There you go. I knew that you were a writer too.
and since 2002, I've done a radio show
Hmm.
called the Road Trip of the Month.
Oh, really?
Trips through Newberry and the surrounding area. And every month I put together a brochure describing how to go about that trip.
So how can we find out about that and become a follower of that?
Go to wkdk.com.
wkdk.com.
I'm in the coffee hour.
The Coffee Hour with Ernie Sheely. I will definitely subscribe to that. I did not know that. And he's so, as you can see, people, he is not only educated and an awesome guy, he's very humble, and like I said, I've learned more about Ernie sitting here than I've known you probably 6 or 7 years. But yeah, I've learned more about him sitting here talking with him than the whole time I've known him. So Ernie, if someone has never been to Newberry, what are the 3 places that you would say, hey, you just got to go to these 3 places?
Well, the Opera House.
Okay.
Even if there's not a production going on, their staff will be happy to show you around. That's a success story, a win-win situation from the beginning. It helped turn around downtown Newberry that was really in a bad spot in the 1990s.
So was it intentionally an economic development project?
It was a case of putting the cart before the horse.
Oh.
Traditionally, to revitalize a downtown, you restore the downtown, get new businesses, and hope that the arts will follow. The Newberry Opera House approach was to create a space for the fine arts and pull industry and interest back into the downtown.
And it worked.
It worked.
It worked, and it is
We're
still
a case
working
study now.
today. Absolutely. I've been to State Chamber of Commerce meetings there. I've taken my daddy, who's 85 now, and I think it was for his 75th or 80th birthday. I took him to see the Drifters there, and I've seen the Tammy Wynette show and George Jones show, and I've seen all kind of. I've even seen the Ghost Hunter guys there.
Yes.
They came there one year. That's been
We'll
years
find
ago.
out more information
Yeah.
about Penelope,
Yeah.
the resident ghost.
Oh, you can talk about Penelope as well. Go ahead. Tell them
Well-
about Penelope at the Newberry Opera House.
Well, Penelope was one of those unrequited love stories. There are never ghost stories about requited love. It's always unrequited. But she wanted to run away with an actor, and her family refused. And by the time they resolved the issue, the actor had gone his separate way. But she is known to haunt the opera.
So she's still a lady in waiting.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
okay.
Just like the Bride of West End, another of our.
Oh,
Love
yeah. The
stories.
Bride of West End, that's the old village cemetery, right?
Yeah. No.
No, it's a
no,
different
it's a different
cemetery,
cemetery.
right? And
West
then,
End was the old North Village.
okay. And tell us about the bride since we've started
Well,
that story. Yeah.
Well, she essentially was jilted at the altar, never married, and was buried in her wedding dress.
Oh, wow.
And generations of children grew up in West End, learning about the woman in the white dress walking around the cemetery, still waiting.
Hmm. Wow.
I suspect that by now she's wanting revenge.
Yeah, yeah. And I know that a friend of mine, Lee Triana Brown, has investigated at that cemetery, and they got some evidence there. So there's activity there, but don't go unless you have permission. So that's just a rule of thumb for any paranormal group. Don't go unless you have permission, even if it's a public place. Make sure you have permission, especially after dark.
Yes.
So now that the Opera House, the
that it?
Newberry Opera House was one place. Where are the other 2 places that have to go?
Oh, well, Newberry College, where
Oh, go ahead and talk about Madeline.
Oh.
Or is it Madeline or Madeline?
Madeline.
Madeline.
Another unrequited love story.
Mhm.
When the federal troops were occupying Newberry College campus, Madeline was a daughter of one of the professors, And the building that she associated with Newberry College is no longer standing, but the oldest building on the campus is built on the site of that building. So when you experience Madeline, you experience her in half because the floor levels don't line up with the building. But she was in love with a federal officer, and that would not do.
No, that was forbidden back
So
then.
she flung herself from the tower.
Oh, wow.
Now, the modern
That'll
version
do
of
it.
the story has her flinging herself from the tower of Keller Hall, but Keller Hall wasn't built until 1890. But I guess that's just another case of don't let the truth get in the way of a good story.
I love that notorious phrase by you. Say that again.
Never let the truth get in the way of good story.
Yeah. Well, I've got one more question for you. Do you believe that spirits can attach to inanimate objects
Yes,
or residual?
I believe so.
Okay.
I've been a collector of antiques longer than I've been even interested in the history of Newberry. And there are some pieces that I see that I don't want in my house.
Yeah. And you're pretty sensitive as well to different things, and you've had
I've
experiences. Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is historian, former museum curator, published author, and working on a book. He has published articles and he's working on a book. This is Ernie Sheely, and he's in Newberry. You can go anywhere and say, "Hey, do you know Ernie?" And they'll say, "Yeah," and they'll tell you how to get in touch with him. But tell us one more time about your radio show, Coffee Time.
So the coffee hour is
Coffee Hour.
regular segment on WKDK. It's just their filler between the early morning show and the daytime show, and it features local things. Once a month I go in. It's the fourth Thursday every month, and I'll talk about Newberry. And
what time?
It's 9:30 in the morning.
Okay.
Fourth Thursday, and a lot of them are archived on the website at wkdk.com.
I am so excited to know that. Gwen, do you have any questions for Ernie?
I love history, so many, so it'll have to wait.
Okay.
But
Just have to come to Newberry, and
there you go.
That's
We'll all
exactly
have lunch
right.
together. Yeah, we'll
you
all
bet.
have lunch together and go from there. And WKDK,
yes,
WKDK, and
1240 AM, FM, AM. It's FM 101.7.
oh, that is awesome. Ernie, thank you so much for taking
Thank
your
you.
time, because that is the most precious thing that you can spend on somebody is time. And we appreciate you sharing your
Mhm.
time and
You're
information with us.
Come back and visit us in historic downtown Newberry.
Thank you so much. And Gwen, I'm going to flip it
Yes.
over here because we're going to have our new guest come in. And you can throw up a couple pictures if you would like. And while they're switching over to guest, and Alice Romanstein Hall is an entrepreneur. She is an educator. She is a history buff, and more so
What is
a
this picture?
mystery buff. That is the Wales Japanese garden.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not
Mhm.
it is a historical place, but it's more modern.
Right.
And it's what now?
1930.
1930. Okay.
Okay.
And yeah, that's the village cemetery there. Now
I've investigated there.
Yeah, you have. You went with the
Mhm.
Trans group. Yes.
Mhm.
I am going to turn the camera on to Alice, and we're going to ask her some questions. But if you want to welcome her.
Hey, Alice.
Hey, Gwen. Hello,
And
everybody.
we've got viewers, you guys. Tracy Rizzo. Hey, Tracy. We've got
T-shirt,
Lala Bright.
baby.
Yes, we got
Yeah.
Lala Bright.
Hey,
And
Lala.
And we've got a friend of mine I met. Her name is Kitty. She's from our hotel
Hey, Kitty.
that we were at this weekend. So yeah, just wanted to recognize them real quick. But hey,
I am
Alice, how are you?
I am good. How are you doing, Gwen?
I'm good.
Thank you for having me.
Can you see her good?
Yes, I can see her really well. Yes.
Okay, and I'm gonna let her while I'm getting these questions off the other phone, because we have bells, beautiful bells ringing in the
Can you
background.
guys hear that, Gwen? The bells?
It's ringing 6 times and playing a medley or a song.
It's one of the local churches. Can you hear it? It's
I really
absolutely
can't.
beautiful.
Okay, well it's 6 o'clock on the dot, and it's playing music by bells. And if you can see yourself, just make sure you look into the camera, and that we
Okay.
can always see you because I'm to the side. But will you please tell us, Alice, about your walking tours and your
Yes.
business?
Okay, so can I tell you how it
You can
was
tell us
inspired?
everything. Yes, please do.
So, I opened a shop 3 years ago on Main Street called Sunglass Island, which is a children's book that I published, which is a whole different story. But anyway, it is called Sunglass Island. So I opened a store that we could sell the book and the T-shirts and all of the stuff that I have trademark that goes with Sunglass Island. But we could also do some tours because Ernie Sheely and I have known each other like how many years? Close to 30. And I've had him come do tours for me for ladies' luncheons, birthday parties, cocktail parties. I mean, you name it. He knows everything Newberry. So anyway, Ernie and I are partners in the shop. And one day, my husband, who does not believe or did not believe in paranormal things, was moving a case into our shop. And he got to the doorway and he stopped and he looked a little startled and he asked me, he said, "Where is Adeline?" Okay, just so you know, Adeline is my 6-year-old granddaughter who has long black hair down her back. Okay. So I said, "Adeline's not with us." And he said, "Well, she was just standing here." I said, "No, she wasn't. She hasn't been here all day." And he just was taken back and was like, "Okay, you guys have made a believer out of me." So I started asking people that had been in Newberry longer than I have what was in our shop. And I found out that our shop had previously been a children's clothing store in the 50s. Okay, that explains the little girl. But in investigating, I found out they started telling me their stories about their spirits that still reside in Newberry. So that was the inspiration for our spirits tour that we do. That's how it got started. That still reside.
And tell everybody when your tours are and the cost and how they can get in touch with you to book the tour, because I went on it last Friday night and it is worth every penny. And even though it was like an hour tour,
it went over an hour.
It was so interactive though, with people asking questions, and we stopped at a restaurant and everything. And so it was about a 2-hour tour and it was well worth the money. And just kind of elaborate and how they can get in touch with you and what all it includes.
Okay. Our tour is a walking tour. We are within the proximity of downtown, so you may go 2 miles at the most. We leave from the square here. It is $35, and we take you to all of the historical places that we've mentioned today, and plus more. And we give you the stories that were given to us by the previous or by the owners or the previous occupants of those stores and the spirits. It was about 2 hours.
It's about a mile.
Oh, okay. So Ernie's corrected me. It's only about a mile total.
I checked my health report for that.
Yeah.
He checked his health report, you guys. So it's about a mile. So you don't even have, just wear comfortable shoes. You can find us at www.mainstreetconnectionsllc.com. Our events are on there. Currently the ones that are out there are November, September the 20th and September the 21st. September the 21st is already booking up, which is Saturday night. So if you're interested, go ahead and get your ticket for that and meet us on the square.
Do you have a Facebook page?
We do. We have a Facebook page also. It is Main Street Connections LLC. and you can find the events there. It is also shared with happenings in Newberry County. So it's on that Facebook page also.
And how do they pay and how much is it?
It's $35 per person, and you can pay online. In the event is a link for you to go ahead and pay.
Now, are you gonna, the little cocktail that you did on the last tour, is that included on all the tours, or was that a special one?
That was a special one,
Oh,
and
okay.
I'm working up something now so that we can continue, because I love Vigoro. We're in the courtyard of Vigoro right now, and their food is amazing, and their cocktails are also amazing. So we like to participate with having a spirit and investigating spirits.
Well, since you're talking about Figaro, can you tell us about the name? I noticed there's a Figaro bar, a Figaro market, and a Figaro restaurant. Can you elaborate on that and why,
Okay,
how that came about?
Ernie may have to help me, but this is what I know. I know that Vigoro is one of the most famous operas ever. And so I feel quite, yes, exactly. I feel quite certain that the owner deliberately and intentionally named everything that, right? So you can't forget where you want to go. It's Vigoro, of course.
And how are
So-
you spelling that? Because you're saying Vigoro, but it's Figaro, but it's pronounced Vigaro.
Yeah, it's Figaro.
Yeah, I got the little sign up there on the screen.
It's right behind, yes, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in their courtyard.
We're in the courtyard of the restaurant.
Yeah.
Right.
The Barber of Seville is
There you
what
go.
Ernie is telling me.
Well, tell
Okay.
us about Figaro's spirit that's in there.
Oh, guys. Okay. So in my investigation of my shop, I went to different places and was like, what do you have going on here? So I went into Vigoro Market and I met the manager, and she used to be a manager at the Vigoro restaurant, but she couldn't take it. And so she had to go to the market. But what she couldn't take was the constant, she would do something and then she'd go back in the room and it would be undone. Like, for instance, dishes and glasses being stacked like upside down and on top of each other like plates, it would be completely undone. And she said it was just constant. And she said there was an energy that was not very nice, particularly to women. And so she went to the market. She loves the market. She's thriving over there. And Vigoro dining room actually went, they just, like, in the last couple of months have hired more females, because it's predominantly been a male staff, which they are wonderful. I love those guys.
Well, the man's name, I know his nickname is Hank, right?
Yeah, his actual name is Henry. And he, from everything that I've researched, was pretty much not a so nice guy. Very, what is the word? Narcissistic, very much a womanizer. He liked the ladies, but he didn't like the ladies to be working because they weren't supposed to work, etc.
So he was a male chauvinist.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was a male chauvinist.
Now, on the walk the other night, on Friday night, and I'm sorry I'm not within the screen, but I'm off screen asking questions. You said you felt like there was somebody following us.
Oh, absolutely.
And Gwen, if you will put that shadow man up on there.
Yes.
She said she
yes.
felt like that was Hank. Then we captured that last Friday night. And I've tried to debunk it. You've tried to debunk it.
I can't debunk
Ernie
it.
has tried to debunk it. And I even turned around and took pictures of all the 5 people, and I was number 6. I took a picture
Is
of all
that
the
the
5
one?
people, and none of them, I can't see
that
that.
it?
I can't. Yes, that's the shadow man.
Yes, that's him.
Yes.
So we think that's Hank.
We think it's Hank. Also, in the window, did she get the window picture with the face in the window?
I think so. And Figaro.
There's a face in a window also.
Nope.
It's
not that
kind of
one.
blurry.
You may have-
Ernie had on a red shirt and it was over his shoulder.
Yeah.
Did we debunk that one?
I felt like he was following us.
He could not debunk it.
Upper.
Right.
That one? Is that
Yes.
the one? It's got the little red.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he could debunk the bottom one that kind of looks like a face, but he could not
Yeah.
debunk the top one.
And actually, Ernie did some research on that too, outside of
Oh,
the
wow.
window on Saturday in the daylight. And there's no way that it could humanly be possible that somebody's standing out there
Hmm.
that tall. I mean, they'd have to be what, 9 feet,
Yeah.
10 feet tall. So I had an overwhelming feeling that we were being followed, that Hank was with us. Hank, from what my research showed, he committed suicide right after the stock market crash.
But now Figaro was what? What it was? It used to be a bank.
Oh, it was a bank.
One of the only two banks
Right.
in South Carolina at the time.
And so he committed suicide in the bank.
In the vault.
Yes, in the vault in the bank.
It was
Which was an office that the former manager was using, and her child was in there. And there was a scary man that was scaring him, and he refused to go back into her office. And so
Wow.
that prompted a lot of the research.
wow. So he committed suicide by gunshot.
Right.
Self-inflicted gunshot inside the vault, which is now the manager's office in the restaurant for Figaro.
And I truly believe he is still in there, and he was with us Saturday night for a while.
And you've already answered the next question that that how did you get interested in paranormal, which you shared that with us. How long have you been doing the Spirits of Newberry tour?
We have been doing it like 3 years. This is our 3rd year.
Okay, good. If somebody asked you what is the most haunted place in Newberry, what would you tell them?
Public or private?
Tell us both.
Okay. The most haunted place I have ever experienced privately was my first home I purchased in Newberry. Not only did I experience it, my husband experienced it, although he would deny it. My oldest son, my daughter, the renters after I left. It's probably, and there is a book coming out next October about that particular house. Business wise, I think, gosh, it's a toss up. Okay, so it's a toss up between Vigoro and Pieces of Time. And Gwen, were you with us on the hunt at
Yes,
Pieces of
ma'am.
Time?
I
It was
My
a portal. It was a portal.
Yes.
You not think it was a portal? I have never
Yes.
seen that many spirits in one place
Yes.
at one time.
Well, tell us about
Do you
the
remember-
mystery of that, because you used to be you're friends with who used to be the owner.
Oh.
So share that with
Well,
us.
Christy is the owner now.
Okay.
The building is up for sale.
Oh.
And when I was doing my investigations about my shop, I went across the street, and her building is cat a corner to where our shop was. And she said, "Oh, girl," she said, "let me tell you." And you know, I love that. I'm all up into the tea, as they say at the high school where I teach. I got that new slang. Okay, so she said she had a clairvoyance.
Disclosure: this is for entertainment purposes only.
Only.
Much.
I love that she's extra because she fits right in with us.
I'm a little bit much. So she said that she had a lady come in her shop, and the lady walked in the door and just stopped and said, I need to let you know something. First of all, I'm a clairvoyant, and you have a young male that lives here. And so my friend Christy looked at her and said, okay, because Christy is very open-minded, and she had been hearing stuff, and her little boy at the time was like 3. He had been talking to somebody. They just didn't know who. And so the lady said, he lives in that back corner, and he can move on if he wants to, but he doesn't want to. He likes it here. So that's the history or the mystery of that building. So when we did our investigation, I have never literally seen that many people at one time, that many spirits. And I call them people because they are people. They were people, and they're spirits, and I respect them.
Well, and I
Okay.
forgot who made the statement in the 1800s, but the statement was made: you are not a human with a soul. You are a soul in a human body.
Oh, yes.
I can't remember so full disclosure on that. I don't remember who said that, but you could Google it and it'll tell you who said it. But that has been the most profound statement that I have ever heard as far as the spirit world goes. You are not a human having a soul experience. You are a soul having a human experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's how it was said.
And Dr. Wayne Dyer said something very similar. We are not having a human experience. We are having a spiritual experience.
Gotcha. And if you will, just kind of in your mind, go through your tour. Don't give everything away because we want people to do your tour. But your top 3, other than Pieces of Time, we know that's one of them. What are 2 other places, stories that you want to share? Or any story that you've had an experience with? Because I remember you told me when y'all investigated Pieces of Time, everybody there had an experience.
Oh, yes.
And it wasn't the same experience. It was different experiences with different spirits.
It was. Gwen, were you in there with me when we were downstairs and we were around the oak 8-foot round table?
And
we
my
were
flashlight
asking,
moved.
Yes, it rolled off the table, girl.
That's
Oh
mine,
my
yeah.
gosh. I was like, I've never seen that before.
Alice had the cutest look on her face. I saw it and I moved. I looked over and Alice was like, yeah, it was cute.
See, I had never seen that before, but I guess that ghost or that spirit was like tired of us asking them, turn on the light, turn off the light, turn on the light, turn off the light. And it just went rolling off the table, and the table was completely level because all of the other stuff was there and was intact and not moved whatsoever.
And we had been there about 20 minutes because I have the whole video.
That was crazy. I swear, I think that place is a portal.
Yeah, I agree. I think it might
and
be.
I love the story that Michelle told me in her shop, that one of her customers had passed away, and Michelle had a bell on her door, so because she didn't have a direct line of visibility to the door, so she put the bell on so she could hear it. And she said that the door opened and the bell was ringing, and she said when she looked around, turned her head or whatever, there was nobody there. So she walked over there, and the smell of the lady's perfume was so overwhelming. So even ladies will shop even from beyond. Okay.
So true.
Shop till you drop and keep going. And Michelle had so many wonderful things in there that you couldn't just find. You couldn't go online and find it from Shein or Temu. Not knocking. I love some Shein and Temu, but.
And that's 2 stories. Give us another one that's one of your favorites.
Oh.
Because you said Pieces of Time, and what's Michelle's shop?
Michelle's.
What's the name of that shop?
She is no longer there. It is the Blue Magnolia Spa now.
Okay, gotcha.
Michelle's shop actually closed. And I guess the other one would be the Ritz Theater. Miss Faye. Okay, so my first production, and I'm so proud of it, I got so many compliments, was Still Magnolias.
Wait a minute, I got to get her autograph.
Yes. Still Magnolias. I was Clary. Olympia Dukakis' character in Still Magnolias.
Yes, and Nail, I pray.
Yeah,
that's my favorite line.
So that was my first play.
Like, that was Weezer. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh no, yeah, I'm
sorry.
not Weezer. That was Ann Mosley. Oh
yeah,
say that name on the air. So sorry, that was not me.
I'm sorry, wrong character.
So that was the first play I had performed in since I was a child in church. Okay, does that tell you? So I was nervous, extremely nervous. And then I found out that I needed to come up with all of these outfits. And so I'm like, oh my gosh. So they told me, oh, no worries. You can go upstairs. There's all kinds of clothes upstairs. And they're talking about upstairs, like in the balcony, in the rooms that the camera used to be in, and they would house the reels and storage. That's what they were talking about upstairs. So I went upstairs, and it was overwhelming. I'm a little OCD as well as extra. And I looked and looked and looked, couldn't find a thing. And I just resigned myself that I was going to have to spend money and buy stuff and call it a day. So I left a little bit discouraged, but I left because, okay, I can't find anything. I'm done with this. I've had enough. So the next day when I went back, they said, oh, you got your clothes. They were right upstairs. So I go upstairs, and there's like a bunch of clothes that are absolutely perfect for my character, Clary. So I'm thinking, okay, they're playing a joke on me or whatever. I go back down and I'm like, thank y'all. Who did it? Who do I need to thank? And they were like, we didn't do it. And I was like, what? No, we didn't do any of that. I said, well, who did it? Because I couldn't find anything. And now here's everything right here together for me. And they told me Miss Fay. And apparently Miss Fay was a benefactor. Is that the right word, Ernie? For the Ritz Theater, and spent a huge amount of time there. And she's still spending time there after her earthly departure.
She
So,
was helping you out.
The final curtain call, she's still there.
Yeah, and I love that a lot of these spirits are female, and the building that's on the corner about the high heels going up and down the stairs. Will you tell us that one?
Yes.
Share
Oh my
that one
gosh.
with us.
Ernie knows more about that building than I do because I'm not a native Newberryan. I've only been here 30 years. But
Only 30 years.
30 years. I'm still a newcomer.
But what's the name of that building?
Well,
It is the
Old Carpenter.
Carpenter building.
Yeah, and we've got pictures of that one with the sign for the Carpenter building.
And so
Well, here is one of Newberry.
Yeah, that's the one
That's one
that's
of
in.
Newberry.
That's where I went to get my business license. That picture was in that building,
okay.
in the City of Newberry building. Yeah.
So one of my friends, Beth, owned a store called Elizabeth's. And she thought in my investigation, she basically told me that she had a lot of stuff. But the one thing that she shared with me is that on a Sunday afternoon, she thought it would be great to go in and get her books done, no customers because she was closed on Sunday, and get everything ready and, balance her books, etc. And she went in and she heard high heels walking up and down the stairs and across the second floor, which apparently is wood or tile or something. I haven't been up there, but it made a noise. And so she went to look and was overwhelmed by a very strong sense of cigarette smoke.
Mhm.
Well, everybody that I've talked to that knew Miss Carpenter would tell you she dressed to the nines every day, high heels, and she smoked like a chimney. And so Beth said she left, and that was the end of her Sunday afternoon working.
Do y'all know anything about a ghost dog here in Newberry? Because we got a picture of a dog in the middle of the street, but it wasn't a white dog. Because I heard it was a big white dog, and what we got was like maybe it was like on a negative. It was opposite color.
The traditional ghost dog.
Hold on, we're gonna let Ernie tell us about that one. You don't have to get up. Get up.
So the traditional ghost dog story for Newberry County.
Can you see yourself?
Hound of Goshen. So Goshen is a hill in Union County, but a community that spreads between Union County and Newberry County. Goshen, of course, is named for the Nile Delta in biblical times. There, it's the delta of the Tiger and the Inari rivers as they flow into the Broad River. Fertile land. There were a lot of large plantations up there. There was a community called Mabonton that may or may not exist anymore. It's a point on the map, but don't blink because
Yeah.
you see the sign, welcome to Mabonton, and a couple of miles later, you're now leaving Mabonton.
Yeah.
You haven't seen anything. But back when it was a community in the antebellum era, the tale evolves around the story of a young slave who was sent on an errand in the night to fetch the doctor because somebody on the plantation was sick. And the child was afraid to go anyway because he didn't want to be out after dark. And the one thing, don't let the mule sweat. Don't get the mule overexcited. And the first thing that happens is he gets the mule overexcited.
Oh wow.
No sooner is he headed on his track than a large white dog starts following him along. And it's not just any large white dog. It has burning red eyes and a toothy grin. And sometimes it's ahead of him, sometimes it's behind him, sometimes they're neck and neck. And he and the mule were both overheated by the time they reached the doctor. Well, the doctor couldn't do anything until the morning anyway, so they kept the boy there and got him calmed down, got the mule calmed down, and they all went back to the plantation the next morning. And all along the way, he was telling where the ghost had done this, that, and the other thing. And though the story seems to date back even earlier than that to a man who was hanged in the community who had a large white dog who did not realize that his master was dead and stayed at the gallows howling until somebody in the neighborhood put it out of everybody else's misery.
Oh, wow.
So the tale of the ghost dog has gone through generations.
So the tale of the ghost dog in that story, he was looking for his master or waiting for his master, but then
Yes.
they found him innocent, right?
Yes.
Didn't you tell me that?
There are several versions of the story, and in one, it really wasn't him.
Oh, wow. So, well, thank you for sharing that too. And we're running kind of close on time. We
5
have
minutes.
a few minutes left. Will you please throw some pictures up there and they can elaborate on whatever we've got? And
Absolutely.
awesome stories, Alice. Awesome information and stories, Ernie.
But
Yeah,
you
that's the
tell us
old
what it is.
hotel. That's the old
Okay.
hotel. And we've talked about that. That's the library. Okay, go ahead. I can't see. Oh, that's the courthouse. That's a different angle.
Yeah.
Okay. Newberry Courthouse. And that's another,
Methodist Church.
that's
Central Methodist.
Central Methodist Church. That's beside the museum.
Yep.
Correct. On which street?
It's on. It's in the block between College and
I
Colwell.
gotcha. And that's another shot, a long shot from the side street of the hotel. And now that is what
It's
is
a venue.
that's an event venue.
Mhm.
Okay. And there's a ghost story affiliated with that on her walk. And I'm not going to give that one away, but you've got to
Okay.
hear that ghost story.
All right. Did you see that one?
Yeah.
And then
That's Figaro Market.
That's Figaro
There's a
Market.
story there
Mhm.
too. There's a spirit that lives there. And
The one with the candy stripe looking.
yep.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
that's the corner
other,
of it.
Yes.
the other.
That's Figaro. Yes.
All right. And then this one is that Pieces of
that's-
Time? I really
That's
can't
the
see
old
well.
market on the other side.
That's our shop, isn't it?
Yes.
That's the
that was
main
our
street.
shop.
That's the main street side of the hotel.
Okay.
It has
Gotcha.
3 sides. Yeah.
And that's the cemetery, or one of them.
That's the village cemetery.
And you've got, let's see, what's this? Oh,
That's Figaro Market. Their wine selections.
Mhm.
okay.
Extensive
Yeah.
selection of
That's the old
Oh, that's
depository. The night deposit drop at
Mhm.
what was it? Par?
The bar
Bank?
building.
The Par building, and there's
Exchange Bank.
the old exchange bank, which was one of 2 at the time in South Carolina, and there's a ghost story affiliated with that.
And of course, this is the aerial, I guess.
Yeah, that's when that's a picture that's in the City of Newberry building where I got my
Okay.
business license. I just thought it was awesome.
Right. Oh, it is. And then I'm going to show it one more time because I liked it. There he is.
Man.
Yeah.
There's Hank.
There's Hank
Yep.
following us.
And then
There.
this one,
That's the ghost dog in the street, but he
Yeah.
looks black. He's not white.
And
he
I
does
had
look
a-
like.
exactly like
Yeah.
that when I was little.
But then again, sometimes you get photos that kind of have the negative effect. You remember the old cameras, the negative effect?
Yeah.
Whatever was white was black, whatever was black was white. So
And then
I don't
there's
know,
the
it
one
might
I
be a
like.
different one. Yeah, that's the one that Ernie that we cannot debunk. We don't know a 9-foot person with
No,
the face.
and
I
I believe
pulled
that's
it-
Hank also.
Probably. He loves the
Right.
women, so he was following you guys.
Like I did a toast to him. So there you go.
Okay. All right. So I want to make a shout out to the sponsors. So let's do this for a second because we got a
Yes.
couple more minutes, if that's okay. So here you go, Margie. You do
Yeah,
it, girl.
Pick and Save, Renee Williams, Ethelene Williams. Thank you so much for sponsoring Hourglass Tours and our History, Mystery, and Sweet Tea show.
There you go.
And that's Renee's daughter who passed away. Her name is Hugs from Chesney, and it's Hugs from Chesney Forever 28. And
Yeah.
she hugged everybody she saw. She was a precious angel here on earth.
All right. And then, of course, we got
Paranormal Society of Savannah. Thank you, Patrick Welch, Senior and Junior, and all the members there. Vampire Penguin, which has been acquired by Scoops and such over by in front of the mall.
Right.
Well, down below the mall, in front of the movie theater, down that way. But they're one of our sponsors.
And I'm trying to pull the other one up. Give me a second. I can't miss.
That's, Smell My Smoke
It runs
Barbecue.
over a minute.
Yeah. Well, and that's okay. And we've got to name the
Yes,
sweet
I'm
tea.
trying to
When
get
I
it.
count to 3, tell me who's got the best sweet tea in Newberry. 1, 2, 3.
Yes, please.
Figaro's is what they said. So they'll be getting their certificate that says Best Sweet
Okay.
Tea Award. Thank you
right.
all. Thank you, Ernie.
Yeah, I'm
Thank you,
sorry.
Alice.
Thank you for having
Gwen,
us.
thank you. This was one of the best shows we've
Thank you.
had, and they
Thank you,
rock.
It's
Gwen.
great.
Love you, girl.
Have a good night.
Well, I love you guys too. Have
Y'all
a good
keep
night.
watching. Triana's got a show coming up.
Yep. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.